to your district assistant governor, you'll think I'm that extra special. That's not true. I'm just a regular Rotarian like every one of us in this room. It's just that when I got accepted to be a member of Rotary, there was a lot of activity going on in Rotary, friendship, and I got sucked into that friendship by the virus they call Rotary. And so I'm here today as a governor. When Rotary started on the 23rd of February 1905, four gentlemen, Paul Percy Harris, whom every Rotarian knows as the founder of Rotary, Sylvester, Gustavus, and Hiram, were four different individuals with different ideals and ideas. Paul Harris was an attorney at law. Sylvester was a coal dealer. Gustavus, whose office in room 711 they met in downtown Chicago, Unity Building, was a coal miner. And of course, Hiram was a merchant tailor who was doing all that tailoring, something that today we're not used to. We go into shops and we buy clothing. Those days they had to measure your length and shortness. But they started that friendship because they wanted to have fellowship, they wanted to have professional networking. It was not membership to do service. But eventually, it got out of hand because they made sure that every new member that was admitted to their little group was from a different type of profession. And so what Rotary is known for the classification principle, was established from that day on the 23rd of February 1905. Rotary was not important to a lot of people. Paul Harris came from a very poor home. His parents could not send him to school. His grandparents did. Paul Harris graduated from law school, did not believe that after graduating from law school, that it was okay for him to live an affluent life and forget where he was coming from. So service became part of him. In 1913, in Buffalo, New York, Rotary had a convention. That was the year Rotary decided to refocus our mission from just being a membership organization to community service. And the motto that every Rotarian speaks to today of service above self was introduced into Rotary. However, sitting in that same audience was another young man whose parents could not send to school. Left home at the age of 9. Most of you, if you watch the movies of the 60s, and you see in Chicago, you see children with a little cap, with newspapers, extra, and they were throwing newspapers. That was what the gentleman was doing to send himself to school. He graduated from college, became one of the finest Rotarians we'll ever have, joined the Symphony Orchestra Band of Cleveland. In 1911, became a member of the Cleveland, Ohio Rotary Club, attended the convention in 1913, and based on the focus that Rotary was looking at, got his own dream, and in 1916 became Rotary's international president. In 1917, in Atlanta, he asked the Rotarians to establish an endowment fund to do good. His name was Ashcliffe. Two names that Rotarians recognize. If you put any other Rotarian name out there for Rotarians, they will never remember or recognize them, but they recognize Paul Harris and Ashcliffe. Both Rotarians came from the same type of humble beginnings. And what have they left for us Rotarians? A legacy of giving. And I want people to remember it, and remember it very well. Rotary is not an organization for us to sit, have good food, drink champagne, and walk away. It is an organization that was left for us by two individuals who believed that we must do good. Ashcliffe did not get his endowment fund in 1917. He did in 1918 in Minneapolis. At the convention in Minneapolis, the Rotary Club of Kansas City, Missouri, was the host club for that convention.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Tell them, connecting you.
So we attended a very interesting conference, if I may say, a conference on racism, which was organized by a group of organizations coming from Stacia St. Martin was also involved as the representative of USM. Walk us through as to what transpired in Curacao.
Okay, so the Raising the Curtain on Race conference is a conference, as you were saying, that was co-sponsored by various organizations, intellectuals and researchers here in the Caribbean, namely the Caribbean Diaspora organization of researchers. So we have members in Stacia here in St. Martin and Curaçao. And this year we celebrated our third conference. The last time was before Irma, and it was celebrated here in St. Martin. And this year the main theme was development, race and development. And so what we discussed at the Raising the Curtain on Race conference is the complexity and the political nature of race and racism in the Caribbean. Race and racism is a topic that has been hidden or denied in much of Dutch academia, and within the Dutch Caribbean we find the need to discuss the realities of race and racism. We see racism not simply as discrimination, but as a political structure, social historical structure that permeates our everyday living, where we see there's inequalities between let's say ethnic groups within our society, but within the kingdom itself we also see the racial divide, as the constitution of the kingdom, the creation of the kingdom goes back to colonial days. And so this legacy affects our everyday life. It affects our curriculum in the schools. It affects how we operate amongst each other here in the Caribbean. And it also affects something as basic as the budget of each island, and how it operates under, for instance, the CFT, within the structure of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So this year we spoke about development. We spoke about the history of development, how we conceive or how we understand what development is all about, the different models of development. We discussed how race as an organizing principle has been very important, very pertinent to the social economic development of Caribbean peoples. We discussed alternative development models. We've also, very important in this year's conference in Curaçao, was the topic of the decade of Afro-descendancy, recognized by the United Nations. Afro-descendancy has been interpreted in many ways in different places, but what was nice about this conference is that we discussed the fundamental characteristics of Afro-descendancy as something that unites all Caribbean peoples. And that legacy, which is still to be discovered, which we're still continuing to discover, researchers, historians, sociologists, we understand that it's very important, because, as they say, if you don't know where you're coming from, you don't know where you're going. So we had a group of about, I would say, 60 people who attended the 3-day conference. And we had researchers coming from the Netherlands, from Aruba, from Statia, from Curaçao, myself represented from St. Martin. Also very important to point out that the University of St. Martin is a founding co-sponsor of this conference. And one of the co-founders present was Dr. Francio Guadalupe, who is now serving as lecturer at the University of Amsterdam.
Hey, Ma. How you doing? You busy?
I hear, just paying some bills, taking care of business, you know what it is?
I know, you're doing your online banking.
I don't have to stand in those long lines to pay bills. I can transfer when I want. I can check my account wherever. It's like the bank open 24/7. I even here checking the statement right now as we're talking. How's Miami?
Well, that's why I'm calling. I'm finishing up a few songs now, but I'm afraid that studio time might be more than I thought. And I was wondering if I could get some help with some funds, and I could pay you back as soon as I get back to St. Martin.
Let me check my account. How much you need?
I think 500 should be enough.
I can transfer it to you while online. Direct from me to you. No problem.
Great. Thank you so much, Ma. I'll get online with Wib now.
Alright, darling. You know who you're for?
I need to know who you're for.
Contact WIB today for your complete personal online banking experience. Available for all mobile devices, the Windward Islands Bank, now your online banking partner in progress.
Who you for?
In fact, segueing onto that statement MP Marlin made concerning the break, I was taken aback, and we got that information about the same time when the budget meeting was proposed and then being pulled back. And I did already send in a press release pertaining to what I thought about that. But that the civil servants receive a letter from government stating that all documents have to be submitted by December 11th, as by the 18th, that will be the last meeting of the Council of Ministers, and until January 8th. So it was quite funny for me to hear the minister tell the school children they couldn't have a couple more days. But in any case, it is, having been a minister myself, and MP Marlin also, as well as Emmanuel and stuff, we were taken aback because governing has to continue. There must be provision that meetings can be held. And I know Tuesdays and Thursdays are meeting days of ministers. So it was strange to me that civil servants are told have everything in by the 11th that you need for decision making. So that means to say from the 11th onwards, what are we working towards? Are we only working towards January and the second week of January at that, the week of the 7th? So how can government continue to function in this way would be my question, and I'm hoping that you as media will address that with the government in your next possible opportunity. Also hearing at this late stage in the year, through the poverty platform, but through our interactions with the public as well, through the guided tour we had of the shelters, how much people are still not prepared or not in a state of readiness, not even for proper living. Some people are still living in one room, parts of their destroyed homes. Some people are living with families still so bunked up together in a space. And hearing from government very little pertaining to the repairs post-Hurricane Irma and Maria. Actually, the platform, the anti-poverty platform, put forward some alarming numbers and highlighted a lack of interest within the governing program as to how they would be dealing with these things in the short and long term to eradicate poverty, and seeing that this hurricane brought a higher level of poverty to the island. We as Parliament are still struggling with getting meetings called. We can request them. We are still being told that via the chair's interpretation of meetings that members of Parliament can't call for urgent public meetings. And that remains an issue. So they're not called within 4 days. The chair decides, and when it's called, it's called. And being in a minority makes that quite difficult for your voice to be heard. This is also one of the reasons we decided on airing our views in this medium. So the ways that, and seeing the presentation also, I must say, this past week on the groundbreaking of the hospital, of course, Minister Lee did commend all former governments for their work in it. We also supported this initiative when we were in government, and we continue to support it. Of course, some questions are still out there pertaining to the financing, etc., and some answers were brought forward by the minister on that this week. But more of a concern for me was the complete focus of the minister on this project and lack of focus on social programs and processes that are needed, especially, they were needed before, but especially post-hurricane. I was there, so I know how, the lack of guidance that was there from within the ministry, from him, in terms of where are we going. And poverty alleviation relies very heavily upon the Ministry of ESR. Also VROMI, and also TIAT in terms of economic development, also education, because that's also always a venue to use. But for me, the hospital has been the focus over these past 3 years, and not enough being done in the social programs and social services, family development, community development. And that became very, very clear when we toured the shelters and when we looked at what was being done to rebuild homes, etc., from government's perspective.
It's been said that behind every door, possibility awaits. How much possibility depends on which door you open first. Every day, we help our customers discover the possibilities in their lives. It all starts with a conversation. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
In my opinion, everything is perfect and you would be great for the job. But I see here that there's a 2-year gap in your resume. What did you do?
I was hospitalized for mental illness.
Oh, mental illness?
I've undergone treatment and I have a wonderful family that supports me.
Well, that is good news.
No, it's fine. I'm recovered.
We'll contact you, okay?
For a better understanding of mental health and what you can do to stop mental health stigma, please go to the Mental Health Foundation's website at www.mhf-sxm.com.
And it relates to the dump. Of course, you've mentioned this morning that together government and the World Bank are working out a global timeline, so to speak. First of all, is government already decided on what approach to take? Meaning, will it be a waste-to-energy plant, number one? And number two, will then there be a completely new bidding process for the whole dump situation?
Thank you for the question, Alita. The issue is because there is no data collection at our landfill for the past years, that we deciding if waste to energy or incineration is the ideal solution is dependent on that. So right now we have a scale on the way and we are in the preparation phase to monitor exactly what kind of garbage and debris is being dumped at our landfill, and not until we have that data, as the World Bank and we discussed last week,
Not until we have that data would we be able to determine which would be the ideal solution, whether it be waste to energy or incineration alone.